So here's a quick visual representation of different kind of costs. You have your period costs, which are moved over into your operating expenses, and then your product costs in inventory is moved into your cost of goods sold. And the remaining inventory that hasn't been showed is showing up as your raw materials, goods in process, and your finished goods here. So this is a visual representation of what is happening a little bit here. You're going to see this in your homework and possibly on the test also. So I'm going to give you a variety of cost items like this, and you have to identify, is it variable, is it fixed, is it maybe mixed, is it a direct or indirect, is it a product or period cost. So look at this slide, and this part of the homework that is going to come back to you. This is not just, managerial accounting is not just applicable in manufacturing. All companies, or most companies, use this, including service companies. So again, it is an accounting system for internal use to run a wide range of companies. An example of a manufacturer's cost, obviously this will change over time, but they find, for instance, direct materials to be 45%, direct labor maybe 15%, and this will change based maybe on automation and so forth, and the type of product. And then factory overhead is 40%. Now we'll go into detail what comprises this here, but this gives you another visual of the type of cost, and this helps management decide how to manage this process. Direct materials are materials that are used specifically in the product you're using that you can trace. An example, again, they're using bicycles. You know, it might be the steel or the handlebars, the seat, the pedals, the tires. Okay, these are the direct materials that are going into your finished good. Direct labor. Now, the direct labor are the wages and salaries that are directly in the manufacturing process to finished goods. This doesn't include the selling expenses, the administrative, executive salaries, and so forth. Strictly those involved with the labor of producing the product. Factory overhead is a little bit more challenging, and it consists of all the manufacturing costs that are not direct materials or direct labor, and the costs cannot be separated or relatively traced to finished goods. And so some examples of this would be like indirect labor, your maintenance. Now this isn't maybe maintenance for everything, but maintenance specifically in your shop or factory. Indirect materials, again, cleaning supplies. Factory utility costs, the energy and so forth is an example. Supervisory costs. Now they're not talking about the management or executive level. They're just talking about the supervisors on the shop or factory floor. Prime and conversion costs. Again, accounting has a lot of terminology, and it is not going to go away in managerial accounting. So do spend a lot of time in getting familiar with these terms. They will be testable. So, prime is the direct material, and the direct labor is a prime cost. And conversion cost is the labor and the manufacturing overhead. So this conversion cost doesn't include the materials. This is what you're converting. You're converting material to the new product. Is what's going on here. Okay, merchandisers and manufacturers. Merchandisers buy finished goods and sells finished goods. Manufacturers buy raw materials. They then have a process of conversion into finished goods. So manufacturer's balance sheet is going to be a little bit more detailed than a merchandiser. A merchandiser simply buys inventory for resale, whereas a manufacturer is buying raw materials. They then start that converting that raw materials into a finished good. So there's some process going on the factory floor. Maybe at the end of the month you're going to count how much of that material. And then you have your finished goods that are completed and ready for sale. So a manufacturer's balance sheet will show all three of these levels, whereas it does not with the merchandise inventory. Here's again, they're just going separating out these three different areas. This will be what's in the shop. This is in the bins ready to go to be used, and this is what's completed maybe in the warehouse ready to ship out to be sold. And so a manufacturer's income statement is going to have, instead of merchandise inventory, you're going to have beginning finished goods, because this is what you're going to sell. Then cost of goods purchased versus cost of goods manufactured. Same concept, just a little bit of terminology difference. And then again, more terminology, but you end up with cost of goods sold. The same thing for whether you're a merchandiser or manufacturer. Just a little bit of terminology difference here. Again, a little bit difference, only slightly from cost of goods manufactured versus the merchandise inventory, cost of goods sold. Activities and cost flows in manufacturing. So you'll start again with raw materials. You have a beginning level of raw materials you'll add throughout the time period, whether it be the month, the quarter, or the year. And then you use those materials, direct labor, factory overhead. This is the stuff that's sitting on the shop floor that hasn't been completed. Once completed, it goes into finished goods, which is your goods manufactured, and now it's your cost of goods sold. And so you will track this costing throughout the manufacturing process, and that's what we're going to do in managerial accounting. This summarizes the different costs of manufacturing. Again, you have your direct materials, direct labor, factory overhead, total manufacturing, work in process, ending work of process, cost of goods sold. So you got plus, equal, plus, minus, equal here to get to this process. I would circle this and understand this process here. Manufacturing statement, again, they're starting with inventory, that was your starting level, your purchases, direct materials taken back out of the shop, factory overhead, and you can see there's indirect labor, supervision, utilities, repairs, a variety of costs that go into this factory overhead, including depreciation expenses and so forth. And we'll go into later chapters in greater detail over all of this. Overhead cost flows. So yes, we will. This will be a flow of information as you go through the manufacturing process, ending up with your manufacturing statement, which then is transferred into your income statement and your goods and process into your balance sheet, which shows the raw materials, the goods and process, and your finished goods. So some trends in managerial accounting. Becoming more customer orientation. There's a global economy, so it adds to the complexity of what currencies you're using and so forth, and shipping. Obviously, the internet has become a big factor. It's becoming the economy is moving more from the manufacturing to a service economy. Lean means keeping your expenses down as much as possible, and the value chain is the added value process that a company provides, either in their services or in their products. Again, customer orientation, they sort of have this as total quality management, where you're continuously trying to improve your company. This is an ongoing process. You don't ever stop and just keep doing the same thing. You also have just-in-time manufacturing. This is where you get your raw materials just in time to start using it. You don't want to tie up a lot of money in raw materials and so forth. And again, this becomes more logistics management and risk, by the way. Total quality management, again, quality improvement, constant focus on raising your standards and so forth. This is a continual process that companies do go on, and they'll seek to uncover any kind of waste, both in the materials as well as in the time and the processes that they do this through. There's actually organizations called ISOs that do quality management, and there are quality ratings that many customers will say that their vendors need to be ISO qualified. That's a whole nother level of class that we won't get into that in any detail. Just-in-time manufacturing, again, things are becoming so customizable now with the computers and technology and so forth that companies are trying to lean out their inventory and maybe get a pre-order and then order the raw materials and convert it. So they're trying to, again, eliminate their inventory carrying charges. And the value chain, again, refers to the series of activities that add value to the company's or products and services. You might acquire the raw materials, you then bake it, process the sales and the service. This is your added value or your value chain in the company. Some ratios don't go away. Again, you can ratio many things, and I'm not going to really test heavily on this area. That's it for Chapter 18, and we'll start with Chapter